on. How did it go over here? Okay, so we're on Yud Beis. We're falling behind, but I think that the dafim coming up later on are going to be easier. We'll be able to catch up. If we need to, we'll take some extra time during. Okay, so really, we started yesterday. I'll just run through it again. The issue is that Gemara is talking about if it's possible for a minor, a girl below the age 12, it's possible for her to have children. And Gemara brought a brisa that says that a ketana should, at the age where she could have children between 11 and 12, less than 11 she won't conceive. More than 12 is fine, she could have a baby. But between 11 and 12, it's dangerous for her to become pregnant because it says that she might become pregnant and she might die. That implies that it's possible for her to become pregnant and not to die. So there, it seems to say that it's possible for a ketana to have a child. Even a minor could have a child physically. And the kasha was that our Mishnah says that let's put that on let's put it on the screen. Here's a case of chamoso. The Mishnah says that if the yavam, I should have X'd him out. I should have, he died. But the case was that there was a man who married his brother's mother-in-law. This is his brother, his wife, his mother-in-law. So these two people are erba, the man to his mother-in-law, and his brother married, Ruvain married Shimon's mother-in-law. And that's permissible. He's allowed to marry his brother's mother-in-law. Then the Mishnah says that, and if he has a tzara, if he has another wife, he has two wives, his brother's mother-in-law and also another wife. So it says in the Mishnah the same way that there's no yibum to his mother-in-law, he can't do yibum to his mother-in-law, now that his brother died. I should have X'd him out. So he cannot marry his mother-in-law yibum, so he doesn't do yibum to the tzara either. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah says all kinds of cases where they could be miyun. There's a possibility that even though there was an erva, other ervas, all kinds of ervas, that he that did miyun to the husband, so then the marriage is off. They never were married, and therefore the tzara could do yibum because she's the sole wife. But the Mishnah says that this case of miyun does not apply to a mother-in-law. That means that it's impossible that this woman should be able to do miyun to refuse to her husband because miyun is only for a ketana. If she's a mother-in-law, she's not a ketana anymore because it's impossible for a ketana, for a minor, to have given birth. If she gave birth to her daughter, that means she's already a gedola. So the Mishnah seems to imply that it's impossible for a ketana to have a child. If a minor could physically give birth, so even if it's not usual, but if it's possible, so why does the Mishnah say that it's impossible for a mother-in-law to do miyun? Maybe she's still below 12. She's not, maybe she gave birth between 11 and 12, between the age 11 and 12. She's a young girl herself. She had a little baby, and she has a daughter and a son-in-law. The father married her off, and he can marry her off even if she's below age. She has no das. It's possible. It's theoretically possible that the mother, she should be a mother-in-law and she's still a ketana. And the Mishnah says that it's impossible because it says that there's no miyun. Why is there no miyun? Only because she's a gedola. That's the Gemara's kasha. Because it is, get it on again, the Gemara. Because it is kasha, the Gemara says it must be ema shema tisaber v'tamos. Before we had the gersa that she should use a contraceptive, whatever the case would be over here at the Mishamshes B'moch, in a way that she shouldn't become pregnant, because shema tisaber v'shema tamos. She might become pregnant and she might die. So it sounds like two steps, two problems. She might become pregnant and then it's possible she'll die. Not definite, shema tamos. She might die. That's where the Gemara inferred that it's possible that she should become pregnant and she should not die. But the kasha is that Amisha says that it's impossible. It's impossible that she should become pregnant and have a child. So the Gemara answers, that's what we're up to now, more or less. Ema shema tisaber v'tamos. Not that she might die. Shema tisaber v'shema. Take out the word shema. Not shema tisaber v'shema tamos. Shema tisaber v'tamos, because it's impossible that she should have a child if she's a ketana. If she's going to become pregnant, she's definitely going to die. The Amar Rabba Bar Levoy, the Gemara backs it up to say that it's a definite. It's not only a possibility she's going to die if she becomes pregnant, because Rabba Bar Levoy said, Gvul Yeshla, there's a boundary, there's a limit on the date, on the age. Before the age of 11, it's possible for her to become pregnant, so there's no problem for her to have relations with her husband. If she becomes pregnant during that period between 11 and 12, she's going to die. It sounds like she's definitely going to die. And also the Uber is also going to die. After age 12, then everyone's fine. She could live, the Uber could live. Anyway, the Gemara wanted to bring from here that it means she's definitely going to die. So the Gemara comes out now that a Ketana cannot have a child. And therefore the Mishnah is good, and the Rashi says the same thing. But now the Gemara changes it around. The Gemara says, no, it seems that it is possible that she could have a child. But the reason why she cannot do miyun, until now we understood the reason why she cannot do miyun is because she's 12 years old. And that's what we're talking about. Is it possible for a girl that's below 12 to have had a child? Because we thought till now that the only time she cannot do miyun is when she's above 12. And therefore, the issue that the Mishnah says that a mother-in-law cannot be still a ketana and do miyun, because a mother-in-law cannot do miyun because she must be a gedola. Because if she had a child, she's already 12-year-old. If she's 12-year-old, she can't do miyun. The Gemara has now a brayso that says a little bit different. It doesn't say because she's a gedola she can't do miyun. But they're going further now. But Tani Rabbi Bar Shmuel said over a brayso, you can't say this is the same as the Mishnah so far. You can't talk about a mother-in-law or the mother-in-law's mother or the father-in-law's mother that they were islanders. That's obviously because they had children. If they had a child, so then they're not islanders. Oh, Shemianu, that's all the Mishnah. The Mishnah says it can't be that this mother-in-law, let's say, for our purposes, you can't say that the mother-in-law did miyun. So we would expect it to say because they already are of age, they're already 12 years old. That's how we learned until now. That the reason why she can't do miyun is because she's already 12 years old. How do we know she's 12 years old? Because she had a child. But here it doesn't even talk about them being 12 years old. Here it says Shekva Yoldu, because they gave birth. It seems the Gemara is medayik that the fact that it should have said Shekva Godlu. It should have said that she must be 12 years old. Why is she 12 years old? Because she gave birth. Fine. But that's not the point. The point isn't that she gave birth. The point is she gave birth. She must be 12 years old. But here it doesn't say that. Here it says Shekva Yoldu. Because she gave birth, that's why she can't do miyun. It seems to be a different angle that we said till now. Till now we said the reason a person cannot do miyun is because she's already 12 years old. Here it doesn't say that. Here it says because she gave birth. And the point is not that she's 12 years old. And now the Gemara is going to say that it is possible for a girl less than 12 years old to give birth. But if she gives birth, that itself is going to be a reason why she cannot do miyun. Right. So go back to the original way. Not Shema Tisaber V'Tomos, but the way we originally said, Shema Tisaber V'Shema Tomos. Maybe she's going to become pregnant, and then it's still a maybe. It is possible for a girl less than 12 years old to have a child. But she cannot do miyun. Why is that? Means the mission back to the mission. So what's the problem? How come she can't do miyun? If it's possible for her to have a child before 12 years old, maybe she's below 12 and she still can do miyun. Having a child also makes her into an adult, even less than 12. Till now we thought that the only way to become an adult is only by becoming 12. 12 also does point out, the Gemara is going to say right away that it's not, it said it already, Simonim. The age 12 doesn't make somebody a Gedola. And also, by the way, by a boy also, the age 13 doesn't make him an adult. It's the Simonim. It's only when he brings puberty that he has already maturity, that there's 2 hairs grow. And that makes him the adult. So the whole bar mitzvah party we make is not really that about adulthood. It's just from now on, he could become an adult. It's not the age that the 13th birthday doesn't make him an adult. Just if he would have had 2 pubic hairs before 13, that's nothing. But it has to be after the age 13. And
if it stays on, then
also not. It has to have grown after it becomes 13. So the bar mitzvah party is really not a bar mitzvah party. It's just a bar mitzvah party that he's going to become an adult soon, next couple of days. And the chazaka, the rabbi says, as soon as possible. It starts growing as soon as it becomes 13, and it takes a couple of, how long is it? They have to ask a doctor, how long does it take for the hairs to grow to the size that is considered a siman, whatever the shear is going to be. Right. So the bar mitzvah, by the bar mitzvah, it's not such a good idea to give the get the bench or the daven, because he's mamish a katan. It's impossible that it should be a gadol as soon as it comes.
Unless you do it 2 hours after.
Maybe. How long does it take for the hairs to grow? Only for the rabbanan. On the right, you're not You don't rely on the chazaka of the rabbi that he grew hairs as soon as possible, only for rabbanans. By the rice, you can't assume that he's a gadol until you know for sure. So they talk about when baking matzahs and things like that, making tzitzis, you can't assume that it's because he's 13 years old, he's a gadol. Anything has to do with the rice, you can't rely on that.
Why does it help if he has two cyrus? Maybe they grew before he's done it. They check, but sometimes they
Okay, whatever the case might be. Okay, I'm not sure if you haven't has enough to know.
After what you say.
But the Gemara is saying that till now we thought the only way to become a gedola, a girl, was,
for me, you can count him because it's a rabbanon anyway.
but if he's definitely a katan, so then he's
Once he's bar mitzvah, then
but how long? But he has to 2 years. He has to have 2 years.
So you wouldn't count for me either.
L'chora technically not, because he definitely right by Tesek Chav, as soon as he becomes 13, it's impossible that he has 2 years. How could he say? I heard Rabbanim say that maybe it is. I heard Rabbanim say yes, but I don't understand because technically it's impossible. It takes physically it takes whatever, I don't know, 5 hours, 10 hours that it should grow that amount of the hair should grow. So how could you say right away Tesek Chav he should be part of a minion and daven for the Omer and all kinds of kibudim they give him? I don't understand how it's possible. Okay, anyway, what does it say? Till now we're talking about this girl. Is it possible to her to have children before age 12? So we thought that first we thought not. Now we're saying that it is possible. It is possible for her to have children before age 12. But the reason why she can't do miyan is because the child herself makes her into an adult. Till now we just thought that the hairs make her into an adult. It means 12, bringing 2 hairs after growing 2 hairs after she's age 12. Now we're saying that if she has a child, that also makes her into an adult. And therefore, she can't do miyan. Until now, we thought she only can't do miyan if she's an adult, if she's 12 years old. Now we're learning that even if she's not 12 years old, if she had a child, that also makes her into an adult. And therefore, she can't do miyan. So the Mishnah is true that Chamoso, a mother-in-law, cannot do miyan. Not because she's 12 years old. It could be she's not 12 years old, but she can't do miyan because she had a child, and that makes her into an adult.
So you go by what's happening then in the Gemara as opposed to today where they develop much faster. When you say girl, 12 years old, breasts already.
Yes.
And men and boys too.
But
the
yes.
standard is to go by what you said.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that even if they have hairs and maturity before the age 12 for a girl, 12, 13, it doesn't make her into an adult. It has to be after the ears have to have grown after the age of 12 or 13. And here the Gemara is saying that having a child, this doesn't happen too often, but if a girl would have a child before the age 12, she'd be considered an adult, even if she did not have 2 hairs. And some say it's even better, that having a child is even more, we'll see in a second what that means. Rabbi Yehuda holds that in order not to be able to do miyan, she could do miyan. We said the whole time that after she's 12 years old and has brought 2 hairs, that she's considered an adult, so she can't do miyan anymore. She can't because she's not anymore ktana, she's already a gedola. But the Yehuda says that even though technically she's a gedola by bringing 2 hairs, but we're going to stop her from doing miyan is only if there's a lot of hair. It's called yir b'shachar, that there's a lot of black. It means that in the area there's not only 2 hairs, but there's a lot of hairs. It's called yir b'shachar ala lavan, that there's more black than white. It means there's more skin that is covered by hairs than the skin that's visible. So even according to him, that says that 2 hairs is not enough to stop her from doing miyan. But he's moda that if she had a child, that's considered a reason why she cannot do miyan. So the Gemara is saying so far that even though a girl less than 12 years old could have a child, but the reason why she can't do miyan is because actually having a child makes her into an adult that stops her from doing miyan. So the Mishnah is true. All things are true. It's true that a girl could have a child less than the age 12, but it's also true that a girl who had a child cannot do miyan because she became an adult with the child, even though she's not 12 years old. The Gemara continues on the next page. Rav Zvid Amar, a little similar but a little different. Rav Zvid Amar, ein banim b'lo simanim. Not that the child makes her an adult without having had hairs, but the child shows us that there must have been 2 hairs. If she had a child, it must be that she already had grown 2 hairs. But the Gemara says then it doesn't make a difference about the child. So if she has hair, she has hairs. So then just check if she has hairs. It has nothing to do with the child. The Gemara says no. If she had a child, even if now she doesn't have any hairs, we're going to suspect that probably the hairs fell out. Means now we see this girl that she doesn't have any hairs, but she gave birth. So it must have been that she had hairs and they fell out. And she's going to be considered an adult because of the hairs. Not that the child makes her into an adult like the first teretz, but the child shows us there must have been hairs, and even though they're not there, they must have fallen out. The Gemara brings in general, we have machlokas about this. In other places, there's a Gemara machlokas. If you see now she doesn't have hairs, do you suspect maybe she had them, they fell out? And some say yes, some say not. So if the one that says not, so then there's no such thing as saying that she doesn't have hairs, but chashinan that they did. The Gemara answers, if she gave birth, then everyone's going to agree that it's possible that the whole process of birth caused that the hair should fall out. So the Gemara comes out, just to finish the Gemara at the end of the sugya, what came out? That a girl less than 12 years old could physically have a child. That's the Gemara that says over there that she should take a contraceptive between 11 and 12, because if she becomes pregnant, she might die. Not that she's definitely going to die, she might die, but it is technically possible that she could have a child below age 12. And the Mishnah that says by us that there's no such thing as a mother-in-law doing miyun, even though it's possible that she's less than 12 years old, according to what we just said, but she still wouldn't be able to do miyun, either because she gave birth and the birth makes her to an adult that cannot do miyun, even though she's not yet 12 years old. And the second teretz was ein bana below simanim, not that the child makes her into an adult, but the child is a hochacha that the hairs were there, and even within the before the age 12, these hairs are going to be considered a siman. We said a second ago before I said that if the hairs grew before the age 12 or 13, it's not considered adulthood. That's a question called tosman kil fneizman kalachasman. Yet the Gemara is saying that by this case of a child, everyone's going to agree that the hairs that grow before 12 are also going to be considered a siman.
The difference between that and the girl. The girl's a different story.
No, it's not. It's only difference is 12 or 13. That's the only difference. The adulthood of a boy and a girl are the same. It has to do with bringing hairs after the age. Which age? By a girl 12, by a boy 13. The girl's bas mitzvah is also not the party of the 12th birthday. It's just from then on, she could bring hairs. It's the same thing. And if the hairs that are grown before the age and they stayed after the age, usually it's not good enough. It's considered a shumah.
It's not the girl's breast.
The breast formation, the Gemara says, is a simon that's AB simonat elyon. Then surely there's simonat tachton. If there's breast formation, that's a proof that there's also.
But it's telling you
right. The hairs is the adulthood, but when she has breast formation, then the Gemara says that usually that's a simon that she also has the hairs. That's the end of the sugya. It came out as a side point. Amisha says that it's impossible for a mother-in-law to do miyun. Why? First, we thought because she couldn't have given birth. It comes out she could have given birth, but then she still would be a gedola, either because the child herself makes her into a gedola, or because it's a right that they are siman.
Is that the meaning of Rabbani Modeh, the last two words in the dot?
That was a side point. Even Abu that holds that simanim, that's 2 hairs, that's not enough to stop her from doing miyan. He also has to be yirba shachor. It has to be a lot of hairs. But he also agrees that banim is considered a siman, that banim makes adulthood. Banim arei in case simanim. If you want to know the term we're looking for, so you can look on the screen. Banim arei in case simanim. Banim arei in case simanim. That banim, children, is like a siman of adulthood, just like 2 hairs is a siman of adulthood. So too a child. And here it's going to be even before the age 12, even though usually simanim before the age 12 is not enough, but children are. That's the end of that sugya.
The word modeh, I'm trying to understand why he uses the lashon.
Because he holds that usually 2 hairs is not enough to stop her from doing miyun. She could do miyun even if she's an adult until she has a lot of hairs. But he holds that banim are as good as a lot of hairs. It's not only equal to 2 hairs, it's like a lot of hairs, so it's even better. Back to the Mishnah. Case the Potros Sorosayan. The Mishnah continues about Sorosayan and Soros. And really we want etc. over here. The Mishnah, the quote that it says is not what we're looking for. We're not looking for the fact that Potros Sorosayan, but Sorosayan. Maybe I have something on the screen I'm not sure if I put something over here just to get onto back to the issue of Soros and things like that. No, that's not what we're looking for. A regular case of Potros Sorosayan, maybe I do have something here. 1 second, please. Oh, yeah, this is a regular case over here, that there's 2 brothers. Again, I should have X'd him out, he died. He had 2 wives. One is an erva. And so it's like you can't do even to her, he doesn't do even to the tzara either. The Mishnah also says about Sorosain, which I should have made here. If you make another brother, I'm sorry, the charts today were made in a rush, but if there'd be another brother over here, and then after the other brother had married the co-wife and had another wife also, he died. And then they're again falling to this Shimon, the middle brother. So the same way that he can't marry the tzara, she's been a tzara, he also can marry the tzara's tzara, even the wife of the co-wife. again, I'm sorry that I don't have a chart, but again, there's a third brother over here. Make a third brother. When he died, this is Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. When Reuven died, so he had two wives. One was an heir to Shimon. Shimon couldn't marry his daughter, let's say, and he also couldn't marry the Tzara. So who married? So there was a third brother, Levi. Levi took, he decided he could take anyone, but Levi took, let's say, not the heir. He took the Tzara. He's allowed to, that's fine, because they get both of them. He took this one, either one of them. He took that one. And now he has her and another wife. And then he died. And now the question goes back to the Shimon. Could he do Yibum? So he can't do Yibum to the Tzara. And he can't even do Yibum to the Tzara. That was the Mishnah. Back to the Gemara. The Gemara wants to know what's the source for this. Why can I not find where I'm up to over here? How am I supposed to get back? Did I not share this? It's not on the screen? Okay. Back to the Gemara. Case that Potter Sorosain, and it goes on to say Sorosain also. So the Gemara says Manan Mili. And everyone should be very surprised because Manan Mili, the Gemara said in Gimel Amud Beis, the Gemara said a pasuk over there. It said Latzor, and then it said Litzror. The Gemara said Latzor tells you, if it would have said Latzor, it would have said Soros. And Litzror is a double drasha. But the Gemara has the kasha, and Avyuda is going to answer the question. It's really a brisa on the Gimel Amud Beis. The Gemara over there says to take it out, take out the guess over there, and it wasn't said in the brisa, and Avyuda is going to say it. Or the other Twitzim also, but here the Gemara says what the Gemara said before Gimel Amud Beis with the brisa, the Makrol Litzror. It says the word Litzror, Torah Ribsat Saras Harbe. It could have said Latzor. To say that it's Saras Harbe is Aser, it could have said without the resh, double resh. It could have said one resh. The fact that it says Litzror is to tell you even many tzaras, not only a tzara, even a tzara. But Bashi Yama, you don't need a pasuk. Svarahi. It's we can figure it out ourselves already. If you know that it's once you know that it's tzara is not allowed to do yibum, tzara my time asira to b'makom erva kaima. The reason why it's tzara is asir is because she's together with an erva, that she's a tzara of an erva. The answer is tzara is tzara nami b'makom erva kaima. Once the Torah excludes that a tzara cannot do yibum, so she becomes an eshesach without a mitzvah. She's an eshesach that's not allowed to marry. So she's an erva. In eshesach, just like we had till now all kinds of ervas. Eshesach, a brother's wife, that's also an erva, unless there's permissible yibum. But if there's no yibum, so she herself becomes that tzara, becomes an erva. So the same reason that we know in general that a tzara's erva is asr, so the tzara's tzara is also asr because the tzara became an erva. So the tzara's tzara is a tzara's erva. Beautiful. I hope that's clear. Once the Torah says that a tzara cannot do yibum, so she's an erva. Why is she an erva? Because she's a brother's wife without permission to do yibum. So she becomes the erva, and her tzara is going to be a tzara's erva like anybody else. So therefore, just like a tzara cannot do yibum, also a tzara and a tzara goes on as many times as it would happen. That there's no yibum because it's always going to become a tzara's erva. Back to the diagram for the next Gemara. The Mishnah talks about when you had erva, and here I knocked him out. I remember to cross him out. Two brothers. He had two wives. One of them was an erva to his brother. He died. So then she wouldn't be able to do yibum. But if he divorced her. Before he died, he divorced her. This one is a divorce. If he divorced the erva, and then when he dies, he only has one wife. So the wife could do a yibum. Yeah. That was a Mishnah that even though there's a din of a tzara serva, but that's only if they were married at the same time. But if he divorced, not married at the same time, only if when he died, they were both there. And the way the erva, same way the erva doesn't fall to the yavam, so too the tzara is also pater and doesn't fall to the yavam. But if he divorced the erva before he died, and then at the time of death, only one wife is left, so she does do yibum. That was the Mishnah. The Gemara is going to talk about what if this is an extreme case. This means that even though they were married together, they were both at the same time. They were his wives. They were co-wives at the same time. Still, at the time of death, they were ready not anymore co-wives because he divorced the erva. So then the tzara could do yibum. That was the Mishnah. And the Gemara is going to consider this a big chiddush because you might say that the only time that the tzara could do yibum is only if they never were married at the same time. That means he would have to have divorced her before he married Sarah. That's the Gemara is going to bring a case that seems to say that this case where they were married at the same time, they were both married while he was alive, but he divorced her before he died. The Sarah, at the time of death, he only has one wife, so she falls to Yibum. And the Gemara considers that a chiddush because we're going to see that another Mishnah seems to say not like that. Another Mishnah is going to say that this din is only if he divorced this erva before he married. They never were married at the same time. But once they were married, if they were married at the same time, even if he divorced her and at the time of death she was the only wife, it's not enough to be considered to do Yibum. That's going to be the Gemara's kasha. We'll come back in a second to the diagram just to see the Gemara step by step. It says case at a mesu. It says if they died, or they got divorced, so then the tzara serva could marry. But our Mishnah says even if he married the tzara and then he divorced the erva, right? We have two wives over here, the tzara and the erva. The Mishnah says that even if he first married the tzara, he has two wives at the same time, and then he divorced the erva. So then the tzara could marry the. That's our Mishnah. And why does the kasha from the following brisa? It says Shlosha Achim. There were three brothers. Shnai mehem nesum shtei achayos. Two of the brothers were married to two sisters. Vechad nosi nachris, and the third brother was married a non-sister, not a relative. Givesh echad mibali achayos es ishto, umeis anosi nachris v'kon sam v'garish. Let's try to figure it out on the diagram. The truth is, it's a fancy case that Lachara doesn't have to be so fancy. The Gemara is going to, the case, the Mishnah is going to say is much fancier than we need for our purposes, but will be the case. Three brothers. Two of them are married to two sisters. It's following. It's good on the chart. Three brothers,
So far, so good.
and two of them are married to two sisters. The third brother is married, not a sister. There's no link over here. So the third brother is not married to a sister, a stranger. Here it says that he died. No, I have to see the brisa again. I'm sorry, I forgot the lashon of the brisa. Three brothers, two of them married to two sisters. One married to Nachris. Giresh. There's Giresh, and then Kanas. Giresh echad mi bale achayos es ishto, umeis hanosoi Nachris, v'kon sam v'garesh umeis. Let's try to figure this out on the chart. Three brothers, two of them married two sisters. So one of the ones who were married to the sisters, he divorced. That's a divorce. This is step number one. He divorced his wife. And then he died. He first divorced his wife, and then he died. And the one who was married to the non-sister took what am I doing here? I'm sorry, I'm confused. 1 second, please. I'm sorry, he died first. He died. He didn't die. He's the one who died. This is going to be, if everyone's with me, one of the brothers who was married to the sisters, he divorced his wife, and then the third brother died. The one who was Nasi Nachris, he's the one who died, and therefore she's false to Yibum. So he took her. So here he is. Now it's really a simple case. The Gemara makes it. It's a complicated case for no reason. For our purposes, it's for no reason. It means to say that he took another wife. He had one of the sisters was his wife. He divorced her, and then he married another woman. Which woman? It happens to be a fancy case here that it was a Yibum case, but for our purposes, it's not necessary. He got another wife. So this man had a wife. He divorced her, and then he got another wife. In the case of here, the wife that he got was through Yibum, but not relevant. So here it says now that then the brisa continues, and now he dies. And they're falling. And he has two wives. Does he have two wives? No, he has only this wife. He has this wife. So now it says, this is a case that he's allowed to marry, that this live brother can do Yibum to his dead brother's wife. who's not a relative. In short, the case the Brisa found to tell us that he could marry the Tzara Serva because of a get is because he divorced the sister. These would be a erva. These two should have been in red. He cannot marry this one. He divorced her, and then he got married to somebody else, and then he died. So then the Yavam could do Yibum to the Tzara Serva because it's not a Tzara Serva. But this is a very extreme case. This is not a chiddush. This is a very, very simple case that he divorced the sister. He divorced the erva before he married the other wife, and this is the case that it says that he's allowed to do Yibum. What if he would have married first and then divorced his wife? It's mashma that it would not be mutter, and that's against our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that even giresh v'achach panas is also not to be considered mutter to the tzara serva. That's the Gemara's kasha. So to see it inside. Here it says the case, again, Amisha says if even if both women were married at the same time, but since he divorced her before he died, that's the reason why the one that's left over, the tzara is allowed to marry to the yavam, because she's not a tzara at the time of death. The kasha is, the mission later on says there were three brothers, two of them were married to two sisters, one was married to a non-sister, and one of the ones married to the sister has divorced his wife, and then the one who was not married, Nosinach was the third brother, he died, and his wife fell to Yibum and he took her. So the two women never were wives at the same time because he divorced her before he took another woman. Then Umeis, Zuisha Amrush, Umeis on his Gashut, Sarasain Mutaris. This, the Mishnah says that this is Pshat in the first Mishnah that it says that Sarasain Mutaris because he divorced. Right. So time without Gerish Vachakonas. The Mishnah is saying a very extreme case to say that it's Mutter. Extreme meaning that's more simple. That Dafki because he divorced the erva and then he took the other wife. That's why she's allowed to fall to Yibum now. But if he took the other wife while before he had divorced the erva, so he had two wives. They coincided. Both of them were wives at the same time, even though he divorced her at the time of that before he died. Lo, and our Mishnah says beferish. Our Mishnah says that even if he divorced her first. Two twists into this kasha. And the two twists, Amrav Yemaya Tavra means break it, like there's a break. The two Mishnahs, they don't agree with each other. Misha Shanazu, La Shanazu. Whoever said the first Mishnah, and fall to Yibum. If at the time of death, history, they had been together, but since at the time of death, when they fell to Yibum, that's what makes fall to Yibum. She was not here anymore. The Erva wasn't here, so she's allowed to do Yibum. The Tzara Serva is not a Tzara Serva. And the other Tana says no. The sooner we show them appeal. Taisva says really the word we show them here doesn't apply. Take out the word. Don't take out the word, but it doesn't mean anything over here. It means that the marriage, the original marriage, is what makes Yibum. And since during the marriage they were together, there was a Tzara Serva. So then she cannot she cannot fall to Yibum, even though at the time of death the Erva was already divorced. So it's a machlokes. Rava says no machlokes. Everybody agrees on our Mishnah. Rava Amar Lolam Chatani was all the same Tana, and there's no machlokes. Everybody agrees to our Mishnah, but the Mishnah first says a big chiddush, then it says a small chiddush. It's true that our Mishnah is a bigger chiddush. That's not so often. Usually it says lozu avzu, goes to say even not only this, even this. But here it says this, and it goes without saying this. So the first Mishnah is a big chiddush that even if they were married at the same time, since he divorced her before that, it throws away the erva, and the tzara erva could marry. Okay, I'm sorry we were knocked off for a minute. Back on to the Gemara. The Mishnah said that if the erva, we're all talking about the 15 arayas, that's the whole time we're talking about. If the erva was able to have done miyan, means she's a ketana, she's still young, she didn't have a child, whatever the case would have been, she's not 12 years old, and she could have done miyan, but she didn't do miyan. But the point is that it's only kedushin d'Rabbanan. So what's the case? You have you have two women that are married to a man who died. One of them is an erva to the yavam, and that's stopping the whole yibum, and it stops the yibum even for the tzara, like we said that at Arayas they stop the yibum even for the tzara also. But it's only a marriage d'Rabbanan. Means that on the Raisa level, if you look at the Raisa, so then the wife who's not an erva is the only wife, and she's supposed to do yibum. On the Raisa level, you don't see the other wife. The erva is not married, and she's a ketana, and there's no marriage midaraisa. So on the midaraisa level, this man who died only has one wife, and she should do yibum. There's a Rabbanan marriage, which is the erva. There's an erva here who's married on a Rabbanan level, only ketana, and she's stopping the yibum because she's an erva, and the other woman is a tzoras erva. Just see if I have a chart for that one. Yes. Here's okay. This one is a young girl, but she's an erva. Let's say that she's the daughter. She's a daughter of this man. And when her husband died, she can't do even to her father. The father can't do even to his daughter. But she's only a ketana. She's only a minor. Kedushin d'Rabbanan, let's say, whatever the any of that erva. Kedushin d'Rabbanan. Kedushin d'Rabbanan, and this one is a Kedushin d'Raisa. He's really married to her on the Raisa level. He's married to her only on the Rabbanan level, and she is stopping the yibum. Means with the Raisa, she's supposed to do yibum, and now the Kedushin d'Rabbanan is stopping her. So it says that she needs chalitza. Can't do yibum because with Rabbanan she's a tzara serva, but you can't let her go free and marry out because she's really chayv in yibum. So the way to break it is by doing chalitza. The Master Kasha, let her do miyon now. We said yesterday that it's possible for the ketana not only to do miyon to the husband while he's alive, even after he dies and she falls to yibum, she could do yibum to the yavam and say, I don't want you, and it makes everything go off retroactively. So if she do that now, also she permit the yavam to marry the tzara because this marriage goes off retroactively.
So she's doing miyan to her father?
Yes. That she's falling to her father with yibum, right. And she says, that whatever the erva might be, the mother-in-law, whatever the erva would be, right. And she says, I know all the cases that mother-in-law always said it can't be, but all the other cases that it says that if she says I don't want the marriage, so then it'll be absolved retroactively, and she's not in the picture at all, and then she'll be able to do yibum. The Mishnah says that it's no yibum; it's only going to be chalisa. Right. That's the Gemara's kasha. Why not do miyon now? That's the Gemara's kasha. But the Moyin Hashta. Let the young girl do miyan now, and then the big girl, the big wife, could do yibum. So yesterday we took for granted yesterday the whole Gemara. They talked about it 2 days ago. They talked about the tzaras memaenes that it is possible to do yibum even to the yavam, to do miyan even to the yavam. Not only the simple pshat that she does miyan to the husband before he dies, then she's out of the picture. Even if she did miyan after the husband died, she does to the yavam, also there's such a thing. But the Gemara now says, it reveals to us that it's not so simple. Here it says on the side, Kuf Zayin Amud Beis, there's sideways, Kuf Zayin Amud Beis. There's a machlokas over there if that's true. We went till now, the 2 pages that we were learning about Memenes, we said that it is possible to do miyon even to the brother-in-law, to the yavam, not only to the husband, even after he died. But the Rabbi Shai over there on the Kuf Zayin says, no, you can't do that. It only helps for something else over there, the Sugya Mamora, we'll get to that one day. But Eina Mameres Zikasa, there's not, the miyan doesn't help for the zika that comes because the husband died to do miyan to the brother-in-law, to the yavam, it doesn't work. If the fact that our Mishnah doesn't allow her to do miyan now, it sounds like a boshaya. And we want to say that, like Shmuel is the mandama that says that it is possible. It is possible to do miyan even after death. The Gemara says no. Lo, tzara ser v'shani. Titani Rami Bar Cheskel. Miana Bebal, Muters Laviv, Miana Beyava Masur Laviv. This we had yesterday already, just to put it on again. Alma Mishas Nefila Niris Kikaloso, Achanami Mishas Nefila Niris Kitsoras Bito. That since we said the words registered yesterday, I'm not sure if that's the right word to use, but 1 second just to get it on. Since at the time of Yibum, when the husband died, she was Aser. There was an erva falling to Yibum. Even if now you're going to break it, it's still considered a tzaras erva since it was registered by the time of Yibum, but at the time of death, Mishas Nefila, nearest ke tzaras bito, and therefore there wasn't allowed to do Yibum. So we leave that because people shouldn't get mixed up and think that tzaras bito was mutter. The way the Gemara expresses it is that when you do Yibum, I think we had one of the diagrams yesterday. I'll try to go back a second to see if we can find that. Here it is. Mian Babal, Mian Yavam. Here's a woman that she does Mian. Here nobody died, everything's fine, but the man had married a Ketana, a Kedushin Rabbanan only, and then she does Mian. She says, I don't want you. So the whole thing is off. And we said she's allowed to marry the father. She's allowed to marry the ex-husband's father. Usually that's a daughter-in-law. Even after a divorce or something, it's not to marry the father-in-law. But here, it's not considered a divorce. It's miyun, which absolves the whole thing retroactively. So she is allowed to marry the father. She'd also be allowed to marry the brother because the whole thing is absolved legamri. But miyana biyavam. So there we say that if a yibum happened, that the man died and then she fell to her brother-in-law, then she's not allowed to. And she said, "I don't want you." And it also really it works that as absolved, and really she should be able to marry the father. She's not allowed to because since when he died, we register the marriage as if it's a marriage that's real because we said that she's falling to Yibam. Even if now she's going to absolve it, we don't allow something to a marriage to take place, which would be usher if it would have been a real marriage. So there's exerted abundance. Since at the time of the tefillah, it looked like a real marriage. So too, the Gemara is going to say that if it's a tzaras bito, this was he was also the tzaras bito mamaenis. That's what we said, that once, if there was an erva, even if she does miyun now, it's still usher for the tzara. The tzaras bito mamaenis is usher to marry her, because at the time of the tefillah, it was nearest ketzaras bito. And that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara repeats it again by us. That's what the Gemara just did now. Just like Rabbi Bar Cheskel said that if there was a miyun to the husband, it's mutter to marry the father. But if there's a miyun to the yavam, it's also to marry the father. Why? Because at the time of the nefila of the yibum, she looked like his daughter-in-law. So even though now it is absolved, we don't allow it. So too, at the time of the yibum, it looked like she was a tzaras bito, and we don't want people to make a mistake and think that tzaras bito is allowed to do yibum, so we don't allow it. Okay, that's the Mishnah. We just finished the first Mishnah, the 15 arayos, with everything that is said about miyun and tzaras Sarah. Next Mishnah, this is Mishnah 2, as far as we're concerned, according to our count. Sheish arayos chamuz meila. We had mention of this Mishnah before, and the Mishnah had said there are 15 arayos. That was the first Mishnah, and all those 15 arayos were erva to the surviving brother, but they were not an erva to the one who had died. And therefore it said that when there was a real marriage, means that the brother who married this, let's say, daughter, the daughter of his brother, it was a real marriage, kosher marriage, everything. Then he had another wife. So when he dies, he's married to two women. One of them is an erva, and there's no yibum, and the other one is a tzasar, but there's no yibum either. Now it says there are 6 different kind of relationships that the nation is. I should have made a chart for this. I didn't, but it's not hard. The nation is suas lachirim, so we're saying mutaras. All these 6 are going to be that they're not allowed to have been married to the live brother either. There was no marriage. Even though he married them, it was a issa to marry them, it's a chiv koris to marry them, and even if he married them, it's nothing. The 2 ways to learn when it says the nation is suas lachirim, there are 2 pshatim over here. Some say that it means that he never married them because they're only allowed to marry other people he wasn't allowed to marry, and therefore they're not following the yibum. No question of yibum over here, and it's saying that he can't have the yibum. Another pshat says that even if he married them, it's not a marriage. He married a chayiv koris, it's nothing. So if he had another wife, the other wife is considered the only wife, and therefore it's not a tzaras erva, because if he had 2 wives, and one of them is not erva to himself, and the other one is a kosher wife, so he's only married to one woman, and therefore she's allowed to do yibum because they're not related at all. The words nation and suas lachem is quite difficult. but we'll leave it. But that's the point. That's the idea. And therefore, so we're saying with Torah, because their marriage is not a marriage, so they're not a Erev. So the Tzara is not a Tzara. She's only the only one. And what are the six? All these are going to be six women that the dead brother was not allowed to marry. Now here it says Imo, Eishes Aviv, Achos Aviv, Achos Omei Aviv, Eishes Achi Aviv, Eishes Aviv, Achiv Me Aviv. All these have to do with relationships to the father. And the Mishnah before, they were relationships of either of the brother alone, the live brother alone, or on his side from a common mother, but not from the common father, because Yibam has to do with brothers of the same father. If it's a relationship on the father's side, so the dead brother is as related as the live brother. The same way the live brother is an Erva, so too the dead brother also. So these are the cases. Now the way it says here, let's skip the first one for a second. Let's skip Imo. That's a little complicated. Let's leave that out. Eishes Aviv, a wife of the father. So the same way that the live brother is not allowed to marry the wife of the father, the dead brother also was not allowed to marry the wife of the father. It's the same father. So Eishes Aviv is a Chiv Chorus, and there's no way that it was a good marriage. It wasn't a good marriage. Even if he married her, there's no marriage over there. And if he's married to another wife, so the co-wife is a single wife. And all the same thing. His father's wife, his father's sister, a sister from the common father, Achos Omei Aviv is a sister from the common father. So again, if it's a common father, we're talking about the father is the one who's the relating factor over here between the two brothers. And if there's a common sister, so he can marry his sister.
What's the difference? Achos Aviv and Achos Sov?
No, Achos Aviv means aunt, his father's sister.
His father's sister.
Achos Omei Aviv means that it's the son's sister, the sister from the common father, Mei Aviv. Achos Omei Aviv means, let's say that Reuben and Shimon are the two brothers.
Right.
We're talking about Reuben and Shimon. Reuben died, Shimon's the Yavam.
Right.
So they had a common sister from the common father, not from the mother. Before the first Mishnah had a choso.
Right.
If we go on to the chart a second, just we had the chart in the beginning of the Masechta. If I can find that back, to roll back a little bit. This was our first chart, the first day. So we had here that there was a sister, but it was a choso me'imo. Means here's the choso me'imo. This is the mother, but it's not his mother. It's not the dead man's mother. It's the live man's mother. So he had a sister from a common mother. So this brother was allowed to marry her. He could marry his brother's sister, maternal sister. But if it would be a sister from the common father, so the same way he's not allowed to marry, he's not allowed to marry either. He could as chiv chorus, and wouldn't be a marriage. So you see on the chart over here, this is nice to show that all the arayas here are either from the brother's family, that have nothing to do with the dead brother, or it's from the brother's family on the mother's side, again, nothing to do with the live brother, with the dead brother. But now I'm just saying there are six, if they'd be relations on the father's side, and they have a common father. So the common father, then it's going to be to the dead brother to have married also, and it's not a marriage. And then if he has another wife, so then she's the only wife. The heir that he married is not a relationship. Okay, we'll go back to the Gemara. So that's the list of all the relationships: a father's wife, a father's sister, a sister from the same father, Eishes Achi Aviv, the father's sister-in-law, Eishes Achi Aviv, the father's brother's wife. Also, we like Achos Aviv, also Eishes Achi Aviv, and Eishes Achiv Mei Aviv, a brother's wife from the same father. Also, all these would be arayos that the live brother would not be allowed to marry. There's a question here with Imo, which the Gemara talked about a couple of pages ago, Daf Yud, that Imo, what does Imo mean? It's the whose mother? If it's the live brother's mother, but was not married to the father, that's only Anusa Aviv. And we said that even according to Id, it's mutter to marry Anusa Aviv. The dead brother was allowed to marry his father's Anusa if it wasn't a marriage. If it's a Eishes Aviv, so it says right away Eishes Aviv. This is the sixth one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you count Imo to be Eishes Aviv, it's the same thing. The fact that it happens to be his mother also is not the point. The point is that it's the father's wife. So there's difficulty with this word Imo. The Gemara before says going according to Yehuda that says he's not allowed to marry his Anusas of it. But even that's difficult because if he did marry her, it does take effect. So this word imo is difficult. So just to leave it out, Rashi that says that imo, not to leave it out, Rashi says imo means that it was married to Eshes of it was married to the father, and the kasha is that it's only 5, not 6. But we'll leave it as a kasha and we continue. The Mishnah now goes back to the beginning, and everything we learned for the past 2 weeks, not so simple. We said the whole time that Tzara Serva is also, just like the Erva is not allowed to do. Also, that was like simple. That was like the Aleph Beis the whole time. And now Beis Shammai doesn't agree. Beis Shammai, everything we learned is Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai, Matir Atzaros Lach, and Beis Shammai said no such thing, that only the Acha means the Yavam. The Yavam could marry the Tzara Serva. Everything we talked about, the Erva agrees to, you can't marry an Erva. But the Tzara Serva that we said for 15, 14 pages, whatever it is already, 12, that we said that you're not allowed to marry the Tzara Serva, Beis Shammai said you could. So everything we learned that the Tzara Serva is also, it's only Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel Osrim. So you have to put a big but on everything. Everything we learned is Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says that Tzara Serva is us with all the drushes, let's swore, whatever we said, and Beis Shammai doesn't hold of it.
Beis Shammai is cool on this one.
Right, very nice. And the Mishnah in Edius, when it says a list of all the coolest of Beis Shammai, it says this is one of them. It says here on the side, Edius Perik Daled Mishnah Ches, and over there it says Eluhain Kule Beis Shammai Chumri Beis Hillel. This is one of them. Beautiful. So Beis Shammai says that there is yibum to a Tzara Serva. Everything we said Tzara Serva is also only Beis Hillel Osman. Now this Tzara Serva does a couple of drills now that everything should really we should know everything. What if they did chalitza? He did chalitza to the Tzara Serva. Is it a chalitza? He did chalitza to the Tzara Serva. Beis Shammai says it's a chalitza because you're supposed to do chalitza. Beis Hillel says it's a joke. There's no chalitza. So even if you did chalitza, it's a nothing. So is this woman considered a chalutza or not? It means a chalutza is not allowed to marry a Kohen. Same way a grusha cannot marry a Kohen, a chalutza cannot marry a Kohen. So chalutza Beis Shammai postlin ben akuna because she's a chalutza. It's a real thing. Beis Hillel machshirin. It's a kosher to the Kohen because there was no chalutza at all. How about if he was miyabim her? What if the brother was miyabim? So according to Beis Shammai, it's wonderful. That's what he's supposed to do. Beis Shammai machshirin because that's what he's supposed to do. And according to Beis Hillel, he married his sister-in-law without a mitzvah. Beis Hillel postlin. She's postlin to the kuna because she married an Erva. She had relations with an Erva. And also just to point out that the kid's going to be a mamzer. Here you have a case where, according to Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai is doing a chiv chorus that is going to result in a mamzer. The kid that's going to be born as a mamzer because he married his brother's sister without a mitzvah. According to Beis Shammai, he's supposed to marry her for yibum, and the kid is wonderful. According to Beis Hillel, is a mamzer. The Mishnah doesn't say that.
I'm making it more extreme. Beis Shammai is doing a mitzvah, according to Beis Hillel, he's doing
right, yes. Right. And the
Halacha is like Beis Shammai.
The halacha is like Beis Shammai. Why should you say that? I'm surprised. Like we always go Beis halacha is like Beis Hillel. Why should you think the halacha is like Beis Shammai? So it's Serva. So here it says Beis Hillel posted. The Mishnah doesn't say it's a mamzer. The Mishnah says posted because it's only talking about the woman. The woman that had a real union of chiv kares becomes pasal tekuna. But it also happens to be that the kid's going to be a mamzer. Now the rest of the Mishnah says afal pisha elu osim ve'elu matirim. Or you can take that out. Elu posim ve'elu machshirim. Even though in each camp you can have people that in the other camp they say that they're pasal. You have that in base that we said that cholsin Beis Shammai postlin. And Isyabmu Beis Hillel postlin means you can have such a kind of case, you can have such a kind of a case. And in Beis Shammai, there could be people in Beis Hillel that they're considered pasal tekuna. Beis Hillel doesn't think so, but Beis Shammai thinks so. And the opposite, you have people in Beis Shammai camp that Beis Hillel will consider them pasal, even though Beis Shammai says that's what he's supposed to do. Means each camp is now producing pasal people tekuna, and in their camp that's what he's supposed to do. But in the other camp, in Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, so they hold that it's a pasal tekuna. So could they intermarry? Could Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel intermarry? They might be marrying somebody that's pasal tekuna according to what they hold. That they didn't stop from intermarrying. They didn't intermarry. Beis Shammai Beis Hillel intermarried, and that's time. Even a point where even without this issue about having pasal people, we would think that Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, there are two groups, two camps, they would stay away from each other. The Hasidus and this Hasidus, they don't get married with each other. No, it wasn't like that. They intermarried. And they had no problem. And even though there will be an issue about maybe the person is pasal, I hold according to our shita, they're pasal tekuna. How can I marry kuna? Also, to point out, they also mamzerim going around. According to Beis Hillel, they are mamzerim in Beis Shammai because they had such a kind of a yibum of a tzaras erva that according to Beis Hillel is a mamzer. So how did they intermarry? It doesn't say. The Mishnah doesn't say why. The Gemara is going to say because they used to inform each other that if there was a woman that according to you hold you're not allowed to marry, so we'll tell you about it. That's how the Gemara is going to explain the Mishnah because they used to inform each other what they hold according to Shitaschem. And also called Tarash, also not our subject about Yibum, but as far as Tuma and Tara, also they're machlokas and sometimes one is mach, but that one is meko. They didn't mind to eat together because if there be something, they know the other one's opinion. If according to your opinion, I will tell you. So we're allowed to eat together because I'm telling you that this is kosher even L'Shitaschem. The Gemara goes on to the drushes now. Amar Rav Shimon ben Pazi, my time of the Beishamai. Why is Beishamai say that Soros is not a problem? Now the truth is that why should it be a problem? It's only because it says Litzror, and then hold it a drush of Litzror. But the Gemara explains that the Gemara says that it's such a strong drush that it must be a reason that he has a source to say that a Soros Erba does marry. Dichsiv, Losia, this is a pasuk. Losia, Eisha, Samei, Sachusa. I try to get that in also Izor. Get that word in also Izor. The whole line is the pasuk. The pasuk on the pasuk means that when a man dies without children, so the widow of that man should not marry out to a stranger. That means she should marry the brother-in-law. That's the pasuk on the pasuk. She should not marry out. The the widow should not marry out to a stranger. She should marry the brother-in-law. But the Gemara is saying a drash. It means that the woman is called a chutza, not that she should not marry out. The woman who is out. The woman who is an outsider, should not be lizor. That the woman who is outside, why is she an outsider? Because she's not related to the yavam. Means there's another way of saying that Sarah Serva. Shammai says the word chutza, chutza means the sameis which is out. Why is she out? Because she's not an erva. There are two women. There's a primus, there's a closer wife. What's closer about her? That she's an erva to the yavam. So she doesn't do yibum. But the woman who's chutza, the one who's not an erva, she should not marry out. She should marry to the yavam. And the Torah says she should not marry out. So that's Beit Shammai's drasha to say that Soros erva does do yibum. Beis Hillel, what's Beis Hillel do? So the Gemara is going to make a try, and I just want to show that this try is going to fall out. You see, the Beis Hillel, the Gemara is going to try to say an answer, and it goes on and on. It's not going to work. At the end, they're going to say with another answer. This answer is not going to work, but we'll go through it. I just want to show how really you could skip Beis Hillel. What do they do? Chutza lamali. How are they going to dash in the chutza? The Gemara is going to continue to say what they hold. But we'll go with the Gemara. First, the Gemara says, it's necessary to use the word chutza for a different drasha. That if this woman who's chayv yibum, the widow that did not do yibum, she went to it out, she married out, she married to a stranger. So kedushin does not, just like usually chayv elavin, kedushin does take place. Kedushin it takes effect. You're not supposed to, but if you did, it does. Chayv krisos, kedushin is not tofes. Even if you married, it's nothing. But by chayv elavin, usually it does take effect. But over here it says that yevamos l'shuk. That's what the term is called. Yevamos l'shuk. Yevamos marries out to anybody, to somebody in the outsider. So kedushin does not take effect. And how do you know that? Because it says losia ish sameis achutza lizor losia b'havaya lizor. That the word losia means it doesn't take effect. It doesn't happen. Even if she married out, there's no kedushin. This might be a question later on if the kid's a mamzer or not, but Pasha says not a mamzer. Anyway, so Beis Shammai says, I use the pasuk for something else. Beis Shammai says, miksiv l'chutz, chutz aksiv. Beis Shammai says there's still room for a drash because it could have said losia ish sameis l'chutz. That would mean that she shouldn't marry out. The fact that it says achutza, that's not the regular way of saying it, and therefore there's room to say that it's a ish sameis achutza, that she's an outside wife. Not like Beis Hillel is saying she shouldn't marry out. She's an outside wife. But Beis Hillel says there's no difference. But Beis Hillel, that's the rule of grammar. The same way of saying lechutz, you could say chutza, and the Gemara is going to bring a list of about six places where you see that a hey at the end is like a lamed in the beginning, and that's a famous thing. We have Rashi moves down in Chumash. The Tanya of Nehemiah Omer Kol Tevish Etzvicha Lamed Betchila Seitol Kasav Hey Besofa. Any word which needs a lamed in the beginning, the pasuk sometimes uses it the hey at the end, and it means the same thing. And it brings many examples. The Tanya of Rabbi Shmuel can go on Elima. If it says there's a city called Elim, it could have said Elim. It says Elima. It could have said Limachanayim. It says Machanoima. It could have said Limitzrayim. It says Mitzrayim. It could have said Divlasoyim. It says Divlasoyim. It could have said Yerushalayim. It says Yerushalayim. It could have said Lamidbor. It says Midbora. So it's the rule in grammar that the hey at the end is like a lamed in the beginning. So there's no drush over there. That's the regular way to say
This
it.
is only by places, by other things that works for some.
What could be to what else could here all places? What else? What else?
The bias, right?
Yeah, I just wondering if that's in Tanakh also, or it's modern. I don't recall.
It doesn't say Dafka places. It says Kol
Base,
Ha'eretz.
oh, here, what am I thinking for? Here, Lechutza, here it is. Chutza and Lechutz is the same thing. I shouldn't have thought. That's what Agmar is saying, that the word Chutza is the same way as saying Lechutz. Or Beis Yosef means Lib Beis Yosef. Yes, so it's also not only by a place, also by any word that you could say Chutza and you mean Lechutz. Or as you say, Baita and it means Labayit. So Beis Shammai, so who's talking now? So Beis Hillel says there's no drasha in the word that it says chutza instead of lachutz. It's fine. That's what he's supposed to say. But now the Gemara goes to what is Beis Shammai going to do with Rav Yehuda's drasha? Means Beis Hillel answered that I need the drasha to tell you this halacha that kedushin is not tofes in a yevamos l'shuk. If she married out, she wasn't supposed to marry it out. So kedushin is not tofes. How does Beis Shammai know that? They say it only leave out the word chutza. It said lo si here eish sameis. The Izor. It also would have said the same thing, that the Eish Sameis, the widow, if she does not Havaya, there's no effect of Kedushin, to Izor, leave out the word Chutza. The whole word Chutza is still extra. Or Basil Nami Tepe Klum Izor. So we turn to Basil, Yidrusha doesn't tell us anything. To tell you that Kedushin is not Tofish, you don't need the word Chutza. So back to Beis Shammai's Drasha, the word Chutza should tell you that Saras Erva does do Yibum. And Enochanami. So the Gemara gave in that all this answer didn't work. So we're back to the beginning, back to square one. That what does Beis Hillel do? Beis Shammai's pasuk. Beis Shammai says the word achutza means that the outside wife, meaning the wife who's a tzaras erva, should not marry out. She's chayv yivam. So now the Gemara continues. Chutza lamali l'rabos harusa. That if a woman was married to Ruvain, who died, but they didn't have nisuin. They only was an arusa. Arusa again doesn't mean engagement, but it means that there was kedushin without nisuin. I think only nisuin. So Beis Shammai says. Beis Hillel says the rabbis are rusa. She's a chutza. She's also a chutza. She's an outside wife. What way is she outside? That she didn't get all the way in. She didn't have nisuin. She only had erison. She only had kedushin. And even such a wife also falls to yibum. How does Beis Shammai know this drasha? Mechutza hachutza. That it could have said losia eishes ameis chutza. It didn't have to say hachutza. The fact that it says hachutza is extra drasha to learn out also that it's saras erva is chayv yibum. Ve'idach. Beis Hillel doesn't dash in that, doesn't see any mashmos and the extra hair. That's the way to talk, and therefore they don't see any drasha. We're still in the middle of the Gemara, but we'll stop here. The Gemara is going to have another teretz. What Beis Hillel does with Beis Shammai's drasha, what Beis Shammai's drasha is. So far we said the one shot. Beis Shammai's drasha was for the word chutza, and Beis Hillel uses it to tell you that even an arusa is also chayiv in yibum, and chutza. That's the question if you dash in it as extra drasha or not. Ad kan. We'll be back in 2 minutes to continue with Hilchos Pesach.
I know what's bothering you.